How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Grifftalks, and let's just get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is some of the reactions from last weekend. So you guys know the Truck Series was at Texas, and then the Xfinity and Cup Series was racing at Pocono. So Texas, the big takeaway from that was Timothy Peters. So yeah, he had his first start in the 99 truck, but he flipped on the last lap at Texas. It was really interesting. Give you guys a couple of examples here. It was really interesting because Austin Wayne Self, right? He was coming up, he was spinning, he hits the outside wall, he comes down, and then Timothy Peters was right there, boom, into the inside. Austin Wayne Self, he continues to spin, he's out of the way. Timothy Peters, it was really interesting. Like, he spun, he got into the inside, and then he popped into the air, but then it's like when he hit the ground, it was around here, something under here dug in and popped him into the air like that, and he landed on all fours. And so the big question to that is splitters really the issue, or was it something more along the lines of the suspension? I hope they go into the inlet soon, but you know, I don't know, just the way how the truck like flipped, it wasn't necessarily in the front, but I could see it being a reason for the truck to flip in the first place. The second thing I definitely want to talk about from last weekend is Bubba, because as you guys know, last weekend it was the last race for the 6 team, and it was the first race for Bubba to race in the 43 car. Bubba finished 11th in the Xfinity race, and then he finished 26th in the Cup race. And it should be noted that after the Cup race, Bubba Wallace fainted a little bit. He got out of the car, he was lightheaded, and didn't feel so well. He's fine now. But Bubba, the reason why he said that, and the reason why he passed out, was because he put a lot of stress on himself. Along those lines, just a couple of things to note, and if Bubba watches this, first of all, you're an awesome guy, and I hope you keep going and you keep doing great things. Second of all, this is your first start ever. Like, you shouldn't stress out too much. I mean, 26, like, I understand mistakes happen, but you know what? Rookie mistakes. Like, no one's perfect in the first start. So I understand that nowadays it's tough to get a ride in the Cup Series and keep it, but you definitely have a lot more chances to go. Because if I recall, Eric Almirola will be back in like 5 weeks or something like that. So in that time frame, Bubba, you still have time to make a statement for yourself. And there's a bunch of varying tracks to go. So I still believe in you. So keep it up. You are great. You're awesome. And keep doing great things. You are definitely a positive impact in NASCAR, and I hope you keep driving forward. And then the last thing I want to talk about, kind of speaking of Bubba, is his best friend, Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney got his first career win at Pocono. And there was no strategy or anything like that. Like, he got out there, he passed Kyle Busch, who stayed out late in the race and won. And so as cool as that was, what was really cool was that Brad Keselowski interviewed him in Victory Lane. Now, the context behind that was on Saturday, Brad Keselowski won the Xfinity race. Saturday was also the day where we had the all NASCAR Cup guys doing the broadcast, pit reporting, Hollywood Hotel stuff. It was Ryan Blaney that interviewed Brad Keselowski in Victory Lane. So Brad Keselowski decided in turn, hey, I'm going to go interview Ryan Blaney, and it was, in my opinion, one of the coolest things I've seen in a while. I saw that interview on NASCAR's YouTube page 4 times already. No, I mean, Brad Keselowski still has work to do being a pit reporter, but you know, other than that though, I think it was really nice to see that exchange happen. So congrats to Ryan Blaney and congrats to Brad Keselowski on winning the Xfinity race, which, fun fact, it's been the first time since 2015 at Texas that the 22 car went to Victory Lane in the Xfinity series. So congrats to Penske, congrats to Wood Brothers, and hopefully you guys can keep the momentum going. Now, before we totally get away from Pocono, there is one thing that I do want to hit on a little bit. And so one person tweeted at me and it showed Danica Patrick. So the story went from the person's phone was that she was walking and a bunch of people were yelling at her, probably just to get some autographs, something like that, you know, fan appreciation. Danica Patrick then walks over and she, quote unquote, had a moment. She was talking to them, talking about how she's busy and she has a lot of work to do. And so it was one of those things where it's like, I could see both points. The fans' point of view and Danica's point of view. Now the fans' point of view, they just want an autograph. They want to just talk to Danica, you know, have that fan via driver experience, you know? Danica's point of view, though, if I remember correctly, it was Saturday morning when it happened. Danica, she was busy. She had practice, and then she had a big day being the main person in the Hollywood hotel. She was going to be what Shannon's Bake was going to be. I understand her being busy. The one conflicting thing, though, that kind of concerns me is when Danica Patrick decided to confront these fans. Because, and I saw this in a tweet a while ago, in the time span of her talking about being busy and whatnot, she could have signed 10 autographs. True, that's totally true. But you also gotta realize that Danica Patrick, she has a lot of stress underneath her, not just because from the weekend doing this stuff, but also she could potentially not be in a cup ride in 2018. So she has a lot weighing down on her being the only female driver in the Cup Series. And so is it weird that she confronted them and talked to them for however minutes? Yeah, but at the same time, she has a lot going on too. So I'm gonna give her a break this one time, but if this becomes a continuous thing, then we'll talk about it more later. Next thing I want to talk about again is NASCAR Heat 2. So if you guys are aware, E3 is going on in California. E3, that's the big electronic video game expo for big companies to show off their new games coming out later this year. NASCAR Heat 2 was also a part of it. And so they have a little station up and they showed off kind of what they have so far. And visually, what we have is, mentioned before, trucks and Xfinity Series are in the game. Also, the tracks that correspond with those races are also in the game. So Eldora, Canada, Iowa, I believe, and apparently you can drive the Cup cars in those tracks. So you can have Cup guys at Mossport or at Mid-Ohio. I don't know if the Cup guys can race at Eldora. It'd be cool if they could, but I don't know. That hasn't been confirmed yet. Now, as great as that all seems, I am still going to be very skeptical about this new game because I saw what NASCAR Heat Evolution is and I saw the way how they promoted it. I will not get fooled again. And especially just I've been growing up with the mentality of people say things and they promise me great things, but it doesn't come out. It doesn't come to fruition. I've kind of grown up and I've gotten accustomed to that, which is why I'm kind of who I am. Like, I'm more of a doer than a talker, even though we're at, what, the 23rd episode of Grifftalks now? But the point is, I'm going to wait again until I see the reviews. And I suggest you guys do the same. Because I know a bunch of you guys are excited, like, oh, I can't wait to pre-order this. That's what the company wants. So again, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. I'm going to wait until I see, read, watch the reviews for NASCAR Heat 2, and then at that point, I'll decide if I'm going to get the game or not. But on that side note, what are you guys most looking forward to in NASCAR Heat 2? Let me know in the comment section down below. And then the last thing before I get into the preview, I want to talk about the previous episode of the Diecast of the Week. So as you guys know, in the month of June, I'm doing month of Junior. It's just a play on words, but I want to show 8 cars that Dale Jr. drove throughout his career. And the thing is, and I did this purposefully, I did not pick the 8 best cars that Dale Jr. drove. I want to show that he's not perfect. And so, in the previous episode of the Diecast of the Week, I should say, Dale Jr.'s Michael Baker car. Now, I gave it 1 star. I know some people did not like that idea. But, first of all, it's my opinion. And so if you guys think every Dale Jr. car is beautiful, that's great. I'm glad you have that opinion. I just don't see eye to eye with you. And so the reason why I gave that car 1 star, just to reiterate, is that it is pretty much a knockoff of the National Guard car. If Michael Baker could have had a more creative car that would have diversified itself from the National Guard scheme, then I would give it more praise. But literally, it's just a change of color, slap on a new logo, and that's it. And then they consider it a fresh new paint scheme. So as a visual person, that is stuff that does irk me, and I really wish we can get more diversity, if you will. So that's the reason why I gave it 1 star, and I understand I got a few dislikes on it, and honestly, I'm not 100% proud of that episode, if you will, but you know what? Sometimes I need to speak my opinion, and sometimes it's gonna go against the grain of what most other people think. Now don't worry, the rest of the Diecast of the Weeks, the rest of this month, none of them are going to have 1 star. So this will be the only time. It's an experimentation. Want to see how it went, how it fell through. And now I understand. So thank you guys again for the comments and showing you guys how you truly feel about my videos. And no, I definitely appreciate that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is we got a couple more races this weekend. The Cup and Xfinity Series are at Michigan, while the Truck Series are down in Missouri at Gateway International Raceway. A couple of things to know in terms of roster changes. For the Cup Series, we got Ryan Sieg in the 23 instead of Gray Galding. Gray Galding mentioned on Twitter that was because of financial reasons. It kind of sucks for Gray Galding, but I do definitely appreciate the fact that Ryan Sieg has another start in the Cup Series, driving the 23 car. Because if you remember correctly, Ryan Sieg has been in the Xfinity/Nationwide Series for at least 3 years. 3, 4 or so years. And if I remember correctly, it was for his own team. So having this quote-unquote big break in the Cup Series is fantastic. Now, of course, it's BK Racing, so I'm not expecting much out of him, but you know, I like to be wrong, I want to be wrong, and hopefully Ryan Sieg has a good day despite having the cars that he has. Now, on the Xfinity side, there are 5 notable Cup drivers that are going to be at this race. Those 5 being Paul Menard, not Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon is going to be the guest analyst up in the booth with Adam Alexander and Michael Waltrip. Also, we got Kyle Busch, Ty Dillon, Denny Hamlin, and Brad Keselowski. So, we're going to have a whale of a race, aren't we? So, anyway, that's what we got there. And then in the Truck Series, so far we have 28 trucks on the entry list. No real Cup guys of note there, which is great. But we'll see how it goes. So now let's get into my predictions. For the truck race at Gateway, the winner, I'm going to say, is another rookie. I haven't talked about him much at all, but I'm going to say Ben Rhodes. I don't think he's going to get the lead until about 3 laps to go or less, but I think Ben Rhodes will get the job done and will get his first career win at Gateway. The driver I have to watch out for in that race, though, is going to be Ryan Truex in the 16. He's kind of been under the radar, honestly, at least from my point of view, because he's not been up in the lead, but he hasn't really crashed out or had much problems either. If I remember correctly, he's in the top 5 in the point standings. So Ryan Truex has a lot going for him, and he's going to be my one to watch out for this weekend at Gateway. Can he pull off a big break? Now, in terms of the Xfinity race, because we have those wonderful Cup drivers in, I don't expect much of a race, honestly. I think it's going to come down between Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch. I'm going to predict that Brad Keselowski will get his 2nd win in a row, and he'll do it with the 22 car. Kyle Busch will try to get there, but I think he'll fail, and he'll have another awesome interview at the end of the race talking about how great it is to finish in 2nd place. The driver I have to watch out for is the driver of the 42 car. It is not Kyle Larson. It is actually going to be Tyler Reddick. Now, Tyler Reddick, he's had some experience in Michigan in the Truck Series. The reason I have to watch out for is because he does have experience in Michigan, but it's always been with high downforce. So now with the smaller spoilers, I wonder how Tyler will conquer Michigan. Will he be able to get around the corners just as well, or is he going to spin in the first couple of laps? And then finally, for the Cup Series, I predict that Chase Elliott will get his first career win. I think it's poised to happen because he finished 2nd in both Michigan races last year, 2nd to Joey Logano in the summer, and then to Kyle Larson in the fall. And technically both races are in the summer. Well, okay, technically, first race is in the spring, 2nd race is in the summer, but you know what I mean. Anyway, Chase Elliott, I think he's going to get his first career win. It's going to break out. It's poised to happen. The driver I have to watch out for this race, though, is going to be Daniel Suarez. And the reason why was because he had that awesome last lap pass on Kyle Busch last year in the Xfinity race. So he knows how to win at Michigan. But as I mentioned with Tyler Reddick, it's going to be the first time he's going to drive there with lower downforce. So, like Tyler Reddick, is Daniel Suarez going to wreck in the first couple of laps, or is he going to keep his composure like how he did last year and have a solid finish? So, I'm going to wrap up the episode here, and so I want you guys to keep a lookout for the 24th episode of Grifftalks, which is next week. I am going to go in depth into the future of this channel because we are at the halfway point in 2017, believe it or not, or we're getting there. So I want to talk about that. I do have new plans for this channel, and before you start freaking out, One More Spark is my top priority. I do apologize for not giving you guys much updates on that, but the biggest thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, I'm a doer, not a talker. And so I plan to have the series up soon. I don't have an exact date yet. I'm still working on it. I have painted at least 20 cars for this series, this season so far. So as I said before, I'm going all out with this. Like, I want to show that quality is still a good thing. So again, I do apologize for not having much updates right now. I kind of want to keep it under wraps until it's time to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about it in the 24th episode of Grifftalks, which is next week. And then the one last update, the 25th episode, which is at the end of June, is when I'm going to do the Q&A session. And so the plan for that is, I'm going to say Sunday. So what is that? When the Sonoma race is on, I'm going to have a little video up talking about, you guys can ask your questions here. And then I'm going to have it up for like 4 days. And then I'm going to privatize the video. And then I'm going to sit down and raw, I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions. Like, I'm not going to look at them beforehand and, you know, prepare for it. If you guys are curious about an update, there you go. So thank you guys so much for all the support. I know that it's been a grind this past few months. I definitely appreciate you guys still talking to me, giving me those messages. Even though I don't necessarily respond to all of them, I still do appreciate you guys a lot. So thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.